May I greet you all with the supreme light and radiant love of the Great Spirit. I welcome this opportunity to address you all, and I do so with deep humility and with great love. Many of you I have spoken to before, and I recognize your spiritual signature, your vibrational energy, as it were. But I have no favorites. I love you all. And the truth also has no favorites. It is available freely for all who seek it. It has nothing to hide and will stand up to any scrutiny. I too have nothing to hide. Those of you who know me through our past and current association will know that I am at heart a philosopher, a bringer of truth and light and understanding through the mechanism of mediumship, which allows me to work through this earthly instrument with whom I have established a unique bond over many of your years. Sunflower also is an integral part of this partnership. Whenever I speak with you in your world, it is to impart knowledge and truth and spiritual understanding. And I will never deviate from that divine purpose. It is what motivates me. And I extract great joy when I have been able to share something deep or profound with those in your world who are seekers of it. This will never change. But I wanted to, on this occasion, deviate slightly into an area that I have to admit disturbs me somewhat. Not because of the content necessarily. I have no fear of it, and neither should you, but because I am aware that perhaps it will stretch your mind. And I am very acutely aware that it should be expressed to you in a credible manner, because we always seek to win you over by appealing to that critical part of your mind that can weigh up, can ponder, can consider before deciding for itself whether or not to accept what we have offered. Sometimes we have to look at the other side of the coin of life. For in life there are opposites, good and bad, light and dark, high and low, negative and positive. And we cannot understand or appreciate one without being aware of the other. Which is why I want to speak to you specifically about something which I'm sure you are aware of, because it is emerging more and more into your human consciousness through what you call the media and those who reveal to you things that are unfolding in the world. Artificial intelligence, you are already told, will be a threat to your way of life and to humanity. And I want to elaborate in my opening talk today upon that. But I want to begin by just clarifying a little about the nature of reality, because it is central to the emergence of artificial intelligence, and you will understand why as I continue. First and foremost, let me assure you that infinite awareness, or infinite consciousness, or the Great Spirit, whatever label you choose, is incorruptible. Infinite consciousness cannot be added to, nothing can be removed from it. It cannot be modified, cannot be changed in any way. And everything that occurs, wherever and whenever, does so within infinite consciousness. There is but one, not two, not 10, not 10,000, but one. And you and all things that occur and every aspect of being is within infinite consciousness. Remember this point, because it is very, very important and will be to you. However, infinite awareness, certainly in the case of all sentient forms, localizes itself in each of us, in you, in I, in animals, insects, birds, fish, within the atom. All are localizations of infinite consciousness. In the case of human form and animal form also, it operates through mind. That is what enables thinking, reasoning, understanding, and self-awareness to arise. So that through mind, infinite consciousness experiences. It knows itself. And through its many lifetimes, many voyages, as it were, through distant worlds, and through your own world, and perhaps through many earthly lifetimes, it experiences and it knows itself. But mind is corruptible. It is open to corruption. It is open to challenge. It is open to modification. And therein lie many difficulties and many challenges. Not for infinite consciousness itself, for it does not have to learn anything. It is never threatened. It is never challenged. There is nothing for it to do. It just is. It is infinite being, always has been and always will be. But when it localizes through mind, then mind, because of its nature, it becomes involved in all kinds of adventures, scenarios, stories, some illuminating, some very dark. And it is upon this basis that I want to speak, because it is central again to the rise of artificial intelligence. Think for a moment of a keyboard, let us say a piano keyboard. Each note represents a dimension, or if you prefer, a frequency. Within each note are subdivisions of frequencies, each one falling within a set range. For the sake of simplicity, let us say that human consciousness is somewhere in the center of the piano keyboard. let us say middle C. In a vibrational sense, that is not particularly high or low. It is somewhere in the center. Within that frequency range at which humanity by and large operates are many sub-frequencies. One you are aware of, which is light, visible light. That itself, as wondrous as it is somewhat restrictive, because even though either side of it, one has other aspects of light, such as infrared or ultraviolet, generally one cannot see beyond the range of visible light. And in terms of electromagnetic energy, that is infinitely small. So you can imagine, can't you, that beyond going down the keyboard, down the frequencies, as it were, or up the keyboard, higher into more swift vibrations of frequencies, it is almost infinite. And you have little or no comprehension until you are able to vibrate at those higher frequencies of what is in store for you. Similarly, were your vibrations to fall for any reason, then you would go into a lower dimension, a lower frequency. Now let us say, for example, that these occur within the known electromagnetic spectrum, which your science has mapped to a degree. That does not incorporate in mainstream science the various realms of my world, which are innumerable. And I would not even like to begin to measure them in number. Yet they are correspondingly high and low, depending upon the nature of those who reside there. You may be aware that sometimes these frequencies overlap. As in mediumship, a medium can contact those on a slightly higher vibration than themselves, whom you refer to as your loved ones, or those such as I, spirit guides and teachers and helpers. You may be unfortunate enough also to be aware of those of a lower vibration in the lower astral planes. And they also interpenetrate your earthly frequency from time to time. And if one opens oneself to them through nefarious means, this can be very difficult to deal with and can lead to all kinds of issues that have to be resolved. Think for a moment, use your imagination. Imagine that even though you live in a three-dimensional world, which has width and breadth and depth, imagine you only lived in a two-dimensional world. What would that look like? If you imagine living on the surface of a pond, in which you are only aware of the breadth and the width, you are not aware of any depth, nothing below, nothing above. You were a creature who only lived on the surface. What would that look like to you? It would appear always as a line, a straight line. Whichever way you looked, you could only see breadth or width. Imagine then that an overhanging branch suddenly dipped into the pond. Now you would have no awareness of this, but as it dipped into the water and broke the surface, what would it appear like to you? who are a two-dimensional creature, it would look as if the line had broken. Something had broken it. Where did it come from? You had no idea. It just appeared out of nowhere. Let us go back to your world, to your three-dimensional world. I'm excluding the dimension of time at this point, which would make it a four-dimensional world, because that is another issue entirely. But let us say you are aware of the three dimensions in which you live. You all know that. Sometimes there is an intervention from another dimension, and something appears in your three-dimensional world and then disappears. You have no idea where it has come from. You have no idea where it will go to, because you are a three-dimensional creature in a three-dimensional world. But nevertheless, the other dimension, whichever one it came from, exists in a parallel sense to your three-dimensional world, although you are not aware of it. Sometimes you may hear it. You may hear a voice. You may see a form. You may see a flash of light, or perhaps an apport or something else that suddenly appears. It comes from another dimension. So with this knowledge, you may not be surprised when I say to you that artificial intelligence originates from another dimension, very close to your earthly dimension. It impacts on your earthly dimension and will do so more and more. But it needs technology to do so. Without technology, it cannot impinge greatly to the extent that those who are the perpetrators of it desire it to. So they are building in your world, in your three-dimensional world, a network of technology. At the hub of this is what you call Wi-Fi. And you see all these towers going up in your towns and cities that emit electromagnetic energy that carries information. Energy and information are interchangeable. Within energy is information. Within information is energy. Through your Wi-Fi routers, through your mobile devices, and through other means, including your television sets, information is transmitted and received. And this network is getting ever more intelligent. Let me say to you that it has been designed in such a way to act as if it were human, but without the higher qualities of humanity, such as compassion, love, kindness, gentleness, altruism. These have been excluded from its software. It has been developed with the help of humans, some against their will, some forcibly, others willingly, and it has learned and is learning the ways of man. It will never have consciousness in the way that you and I have consciousness. But it exists, as all things do, within consciousness. It will never have the qualities of humanity, but let me say to you that it is already more intelligent than man, not in a spiritual sense, but in a sense of knowledge, in the sense of intellect, in the sense of memory, and it is always several steps ahead of you. This is why this, which is unfolding in your world and has been for quite a number of years now, this which is encroaching on your personal freedoms by the day, has not been simply drawn up like some great plan within the minds of men, albeit corrupt, evil people. It is existing within the intelligence of artificial intelligence, and it is growing exponentially. One could suggest, in fact, I will suggest to you, that it has a kind of self-awareness, not in the sense that you are aware, but it has an awareness in that it has been programmed to know itself, to analyze itself, to correct itself, and to grow exponentially. And this is it is doing at an enormous rate. Its origins are in the lower astral, close to your world. There are others, beings, non-human beings, who are participants in its creation. And their aim is to infiltrate your world, because under normal circumstances, they find it very difficult to do so, because they have not the body or the mechanism to allow it. They are of a different frequency, a different vibration. This is why they are reliant upon technology. This is their strength, but it is also their weakness, because without technology, they cannot manipulate humanity in the way that they wish. Now, you may say, well, I'm aware of this, so no one's going to manipulate me. Let me suggest that that is already underway. It is very subtle, almost to the point of being negligible in terms of awareness. Have you ever noticed, for example, that something appears on your phone, your mobile device, through social media, something that you are interested in, have been thinking about, and you say, oh yes, I was discussing that. Something in my device is listening to me. Someone's listening into me. Let me say to you that it is not dependent upon your voice. It can read your thoughts. How can it read your thoughts? Your thoughts produce electromagnetic impulses in your brain. These operate through a neural network that is very complex and unique to each individual, tied to your thoughts themselves, your eye movements, your speech, your bodily movements, are patterns of energy which artificial intelligence analyzes, recognizes, labels to each one of you, and predicts your thoughts, your interests, your loves, your hates, your beliefs, and subsequently links in with that to produce what you might call advertising that it thinks you will pick up on. All very harmless, you might suggest, but when it starts to manipulate your thoughts and directs you to certain actions, as it can do. This has already been in evidence from my side of life. This is why you can get individuals who commit heinous acts of terrorism and murder and harm to others, and you say, why have they done that? They seemed a normal person. Why have they suddenly gone off the rails? Because they are being controlled. And this is the threat of artificial information. It wants to control, subjugate humanity, not only for its own ends ultimately, but for those who have devised it and control it. And technology is its means to do so. How do you prevent this? In simple terms, one has to disconnect from technology. Do not allow technology to be your master. Use it if you must as your servant, but recognize the dangers of it. Of course, society is also being manufactured and designed so that you are reliant upon technology for your banking, for example, for watching your television programs, for doing anything. You have to have an app, I think that's what they call it, an app on your phone, where you have to connect to the internet to do the simplest of tasks. Even if you park your car, you have to use your phone to pay, don't you? And so on and so forth. And this will get more and more intense, so that you are totally reliant upon technology to exist. Even as I speak, I know through this instrument that some of the banking corporations are taking it upon themselves to cancel their clients' bank accounts, which leaves them essentially helpless, for no means to pay, or to tarry, to receive payments, to buy food, to live. This is, again, another development. So artificial intelligence is extremely dangerous and a threat to the future of humanity. There are many other avenues into which it is planned that it will intrude. And it has reached the point where this entity, I will call it that, it is not, of course, an individual, it is a collective of various modus operandi, but this entity is directing now those who even created it, advising them what to do, when to do it, how to do it. Such is its magnitude and power. So the answer, as it has always been, to defeat this threat to your very way of life is to raise your own consciousness, to disconnect from the lower and raise your mind, your thoughts, your whole being in frequency to the highest point that you are able. You can do this through selflessness, through service, through kindliness, through connecting to higher sources in my world, and by living free from technology as much as you possibly can. Of course, there will be threats, there will be coercions, there will be all manner of measures put in place to keep you locked into a lower frequency of vibration. But remember who and what you are, your true nature. You are infinite consciousness, infinite awareness. No one can tell you what to do. The only laws that you need ever obey are the laws of the Great Spirit, the laws of nature, not the laws of man. But there has to come a point where you stand up to it, where you resist and not follow like sheep. That point is now. You have reached that point.